Hey, we are working with clay again today, and it is going to be so exciting. We're also trying a new clay. This is Creative Paper Clay Modeling Material. The color is natural white, and I heard it's like the best one around, so let's try it and see what everybody is talking about. Here are my first impressions. Ooh. Ugh. First impressions, it feels a little wet for some reason. I don't know if that's normal. It just kind of feels damp. I don't see condensation, but it just feels a little damp. It is very easy to knead. It does kind of feel like paper. It feels a little grainy, which is interesting. I don't feel sticky, just like a little damp. This is cool. Okay, let's try this. And here are my ideas for the birds today. I want to do a parakeet, also known as a budgie, a pigeon, a lovebird, and a cockatiel. So let's begin shaping. Looking back at this shape, it reminds me so much of the clay cats. This is almost nearly the exact sort of shape that I started with, and it's bringing back so many memories of when I made the little clay cats all those years ago on my channel, and they're like just basically the same shape. So I want to do them similarly to the cats. I want them to be about the same height, so I can like put them together on my shelf with all my other clay sculptures and little figurines. And it's just so nice to hear that you guys love that video so much, and a lot of you have said that you have made them after following my tutorial, which is awesome. And I'm hoping that this will provide something else for your shelf along with your clay cats if you also made them. So I'm starting with the parakeet here, and I'm doing some sort of feathers on the side, and then I'm beginning with the like nose and beak and eyes area. And I love birds, by the way, if I didn't mention that already. I feel like I've said that before, but I absolutely love birds. I had parakeets growing up. They were my first pets, and my like very like first one I ever had was like a blue and yellow parakeet, and I called her Betty, and she was just so awesome. She would give me kisses and she would perch on me, and she was just the best. I miss her so much. And then I had a green and yellow one called Gracie, and then I got her a sibling and I named her Mime, and she was blue and white. And but birds are so cool, guys. And back to this tutorial here. For the nose, I did like two little balls for the little nose that they have, and then I sort of made like a triangle thing, and I tried to perch it, sort of curve it a little bit so that it looks like a beak, and then I put some little dots where the nostrils are, and that's it for now. I will continue more of the details on that later because I had decided to add more feathers on these other birds, so we'll get back to that. Next one is a pigeon, another favorite bird of mine. I'm from New York, so there are pigeons everywhere. And when I've just been obsessed with them ever since I was a little kid. I thought they were so funny and so cool. So the sculpting process for this is pretty much the same for all the birds. Just this is the only one that's significantly different because pigeons they have like sort of a longer neck, almost, chicken-like. Especially how they move their little heads, which is also one of my favorite things about pigeons. I just think they're so funny. So I started to add some extra clay to build on top, and started doing some like little feathers, and I just continued on that. Some different shaped feathers. I started to like a scallop thing. You'll see in a second. Scalloped edge sort of thing. It's just, these little circles sort of here. And yeah, like I said, they're all about the same shape. The cockatiel, has those little like mohawk feathers, so that's the only difference with that. They're all just like about the same like size. Like I just did like the same process for all of them pretty much. The eyes, nose, just like I did with the parakeet a second ago. And I thought this was really funny. This just made me laugh right there when it looked like a face before I made the bird face. I just thought that was hilarious. And yeah, the eyes are really big on this, but that's okay. They're all going to be a little different. And then I took a closer look at some birds. I mean, I've been looking at birds the whole time so I can get them to look as accurate as I can. So I decided to add a small like ball pressed down underneath the beak and then the actual beak on top, because that's how beaks look. They have, you know, that top sort of mouth that opens up, and then there's that bottom that also helps them like eat food and stuff, and then their mouth is in the middle. So I tried to do that. Next bird I'm working on is I think this is a lovebird, because it is a little shorter than the other birds. Not intentional, I just started making the shape and see what happened. Again, not intentional that the eyes are a lot smaller and different, but I think it really adds to it. It makes them all look a little different. You can make them look the same if you want, but I don't know, they're all different birds, so gotta make them look at least a little different. But yeah, it was not intentional to make this one shorter, but that's okay. Again, the same process for all of these, and I'm just using these tools to just add some shape. And also, I did not use any water throughout this entire process. Barely any water. No water when shaping them the first time. Like as you're watching it, some of the like noses were not on there very well, so they sort of started to fall off as they were drying. So I just added a tiny bit of water to put them back on, or I just made an entirely new nose with a little bit of water. But I did not use any water the first time. If you want your noses to stay, probably use a tiny bit of water. But like I said in my like first impressions of using the clay, it's very wet. Even when I like sealed it away in like a plastic Ziploc bag or something, there's like a lot of condensation going on, and it stays very wet. Not like soaking wet, but it's very damp. So it was pretty easy to just start molding and shaping without adding any water, because it was just that moist enough that I didn't need to, which is really helpful when you're just playing with it for the first time and you don't need a lot of materials. I just had these clay tools that I had to buy because I couldn't find my other tools. You saw I did some of the feathers, and at first I thought I could just like cut and pull it out, but that kind of turned out weird, so I just added some more sort of almost similarly to the beak shape again, and I put those just behind that first little mohawk feather, and then I tried to like blend it in there a little bit. And then I'm doing sort of similar to the pigeon again, some scallop feathers and then some straighter feathers. And I had this sort of bird sort of looking in a certain direction where you can see both of the like wings. That's what these are. I've been saying feathers the whole time. I'm adding, these are the wings. Anyway, now that all the wings are done on all these birds, I went back and added a little more body and shape to some of the first ones that I started off with, and just a little bit of a neck area, well, where the head is, and you know, just cleaned up on them off camera. And now we're gonna let these completely dry, and so we can begin painting. Here is my palette for today. If you want a more detailed video on how I make my paint palettes, I have a painting video coming up soon. And first, before we paint, we need to sand, because there is a lot of texture going on. There's some very bumpiness going on, some little bit of a mess. Like I said, I had to clean these up a little bit off camera as they were drying, because some pieces started to fall off because I didn't use any water, so it looks a little weird and messy. So I'm going to use a little bit of sandpaper to sand these down, and it's going to do a huge difference than painting on the texturedness. So this is the grit that I have. It's 180. It does fine finishes. Hi Ming. And make sure to follow PPE, you know, mask, ventilate your room, all that stuff. Ming, excuse me, this is the birds video, not the cats video. Yes, thank you. So I'm just sanding some of the areas that are a little messy and just focusing on those spots, and then just cleaning up everywhere else to make it look as smooth as possible. If I missed out on some of the parts where I blended the feathers, it would look bumpy and strange. So I just completely sanded all that down. Try not to sand too much, and you know, just clean up before you begin painting, because there'll just be lots of texture in your paint. So just kind of wipe these down a little bit. You can use your hands and, you know, just clean up the area before you begin painting. I am starting with all of the base colors first, so there's going to be a lot of back and forth with painting. Yellow for the cockatiel, you know, light blue colors for the pigeon, yellow and blue for the parakeet, and some like greens and yellows for the lovebird. So while I am painting, I have to mention before I run out of time that this is the 1,000 subscribers special video. Thank you so much. I have so much to say, but I think I'll save most of that for like all the sentimental stuff for my podcast and my Patreon, because we have so much painting to do. But I'll just say a couple words. I've been on this channel for a couple of years, and I have also been just making art for my entire life, and this is just always something I've been wanting to do with my life, just like to share my art with the world and stuff. And so it's just really nice to see and hear from you guys how much you like what I do and like my videos and the art that I make, because I love them also. That's why I share them with you. I love everything I do. I love art, and I just want to thank you so much for being here, and those of you who have been here from the very start, special thank you to you. And hello all the new people that have been joining. I know I've been busting out a lot of content and lots of like new stuff that I've been doing, especially working with clay again. It's all so very exciting, and yeah, I just really want to thank you. And let's get back to painting, because I have some techniques that I like to talk about, like this right here. Okay, these are some like acrylic painting blending techniques. So you saw I did a bit of that like red, and then I got a different brush. That was a completely dry brush. So it's a technique called dry brush blending. There's so many different kinds of blending you can do. You can use wet brushes. You could also use your fingers like I am doing right now. Dry. I'm just doing like an initial color down, like a base color, and then as you see I'm doing here, I'm doing a lot of side to side. This is some blending, so I'm doing the wet color first, and then I'm getting a different brush that is either completely dry or a little bit damp, and just sort of swishing in that same area as you saw I did a couple times there. And then now I got all the bases down. I'm going back on all of these and doing the more finer details, like the nose and the beaks, and then some like other little feather things that they have going on. And the lovebird here is very orange and red around the beak area, so I'm making sure to blend that all out so it's not like hard colors that are there that aren't blended. So here I'm using a wet brush, and you can see the difference with using a wet brush and a dry brush. Obviously the wet brush is a little wet, so some of the color gets thinned out a little bit, which also helps with the blending. And then I'm also making sure to add on all the birds a little bit of their eyelids around where the eyes are before I add the eyes and the pupils, because they have like, sometimes they're like white eyelids or pinky eyelids. I just did the same color on all of these, and then I did some black eyes, and then I went back and did some little like shiny eyes with a little bit of white, a very tiny bit of white, because these eyes are so small. I don't want to do too much. So those are the last details, and I did a little bit more on off camera, especially with the budgie. I added some of the like blue feathering on their head that they have. And yeah, these are how these are looking, and they're completely dry. So let's begin to gloss them. This is an entire like whole new year, new clay stuff. I am working with a new gloss as well. This is triple thick gloss. These are the directions if you want to pause and read this. It says to use a soft brush to apply. You can just use a dry brush. This is just a completely dry brush that I have. I don't know what acrylic brush is. I guess they mean like acrylic painting brush, but that could be anything. Just use a completely dry brush and make sure your painting is completely dry. Otherwise, you're going to get paint all smushed around where you don't want it. So make sure these are completely dry, and you can do a couple of coats. Just make sure that your first coat is completely dry. And yeah, done with that. Let's take a look at these. So these are completely dry, and let's just take a closer look. This is the lovebird, and I realized I didn't name any of them. Let's do that now. So lovebird, I'm thinking mango, because very mango-y colors. The cockatiel's name is going to be Nacho, because nachos are yellow, and why the heck not? And the pigeon is going to be Vinny, because I think giving pets human names are hilarious. Like, here's my dog, Steve. Hello? That's so funny. And I gotta give it up to my girl, Betty. So the parakeet is also going to be named Betty. Those were all the clay birds. Hope you enjoyed this video. First one this year. Thank you for watching. Thank you for 1,000 subscribers. That's so many people. Hello, new people. And don't forget to check out my Patreon. A lot of exclusive stuff on there, videos, digital rewards, podcasts, and which bird is your favorite? Let me know. Bye!